Hey everyone, welcome to Question Period Rewind. I'm Donna Skelly, the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario. Get ready to travel back in time to 1986, the year when Microsoft went public, the Oprah Winfrey Show was first syndicated, and when Wayne Gretzky was at the top of his game with the Edmonton Oilers, breaking his own NHL record for the most assists and the most points in a season. These are records, by the way, that he still holds to this day. Now, let's take a listen to what the House was talking about.
Oral questions. The Leader of the Opposition.
My question is to the Premier. I wonder if the Premier could tell the people of Ontario that they will be able today to receive all the health care services they require.
Premier.
Mr. Speaker, there's obviously a strike in some of the hospitals, but I can return it over to the Minister of Health to answer more specifically any questions you may have. May I refer it to him? I just referred it to the Minister.
Order. 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 I understand the Premier has referred that to the Minister of Health. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can tell the honourable gentleman that in fact we are continuing to watch very closely the activity in each of the hospitals where there has been disruption. As you know, I met with the college, Mr. Speaker, and we have come up with a very specific statement by the college, and I can tell the honourable gentleman and to the public that in fact we have guidelines now with respect to what is considered inappropriate, and we'll continue to monitor the situation quite closely, and we will in fact respond in the situation or the circumstances which are brought to our attention.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask supplementary to the Premier. May I so do?
As I have mentioned to many members, the precedents in this House are that any questions or supplementary questions flow out of the response. Therefore, the supplementary should be directed to the Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, briefly, the Premier partially answered the question, then referred. Therefore, I think it would be in order to ask a supplementary.
Order.
You want.
Order. I'll remind the members this is question period, and the supplementary must go to the Minister of Health.
You won't answer questions about it. Would David answer?
The precedent in this House is that the person who causes the problem, directly causes the problem, should be willing to come to this House and answer for that problem. And the Premier's
Order. Supplementary.
He wouldn't go out on the front to meet the doctors when they demonstrated. He locked them out of the building today, and now he won't face the public in this legislature.
Order.
No walls, no barriers, just lock.
Order. Supplementary, please.
My question to the Minister of Health is this. He did not answer the question which I put to the Premier and which the Premier refused to own up and answer to, and that is this. You are the guardian under the legislation, under the Ministry of Health Act, of the care and safety and maintenance of the health care system. The public of Ontario are entitled to know from you whether you believe, as the Minister of Health, that they can today receive all the health care services they require.
Minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think I've reported often enough in this House, and there for a minute I wondered what the honourable member was going to have left over to say. He sort of shoots his quiver empty before he gets around to the question, but I can tell the honourable member that there are physicians in this province. There are physicians in this province who are serving their patients, and in fact, when I met with the group of people who assembled on the second floor here earlier today, I could not find any of those who have been told by their physicians that if they were needed, that they would not respond. In fact, the patients told me that I was able to talk to, and I wasn't able to talk to all of them, but those patients said quite clearly to me that their physicians said that they would meet their needs. Now, that being the case, it seems to me that there has to be a decision made on the part of the physician when they are talking, or he or she is talking to their patients, as to whether or not there are needs of a medical nature. I can tell the honourable gentleman that my confidence is in that relationship, which has been widely reported, which has been widely told to me to be one of some sanctity, and which I should not trespass upon. I can tell the honourable gentleman that the physicians are serving their patients. I can tell the honourable members that I do not wish to do what the medical executive, the OMA executive, is doing, and that is telling physicians not to serve patients. I'm permitting them to do that.
Final supplementary.
The minister, I want to put this proposition clearly to the minister. The public of Ontario is very concerned about their health care today. We have emergency wards closing throughout the province. We have hundreds, by now thousands, of elective surgical procedures canceled. We have all sorts of people in the system who can't get to see their doctor today. Those frightened and concerned Ontarians are entitled to look to the government of Ontario and ask a simple question. That question is, does the Minister of Health believe that all the health care services required for the people of Ontario are available today? I want you this afternoon to stand up and say, yes, you believe they are, or no, they're not.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as usual, the honourable gentleman is in his own simple fashion trying to engage in some kind of rhetoric which will increase the concern of the public. I can tell the honourable gentleman that physicians have told me that they will, in fact, provide service to their patients. They've confirmed that right along. I can tell the honourable gentleman that they reported on the circumstances around the closing of the...
Order. It's very difficult to hear. Minister?
I can tell the honourable members, Mr. Speaker, that when we reviewed the occurrences at the Humber in conjunction with, or not at the Humber, rather with Northwestern, in conjunction with the college, that the people who were at that emergency department were assessed, the people who required it received treatment. I can tell the honourable gentleman that when it comes time to understanding what service is required in a medical fashion between a patient or for a patient, it really does rest upon the medical judgment of those people who are trained professionally in this province to make that determination, and that is the physicians. I can tell the honourable gentleman that it is my understanding those decisions and determinations are being made, and they will continue to be made.
You want to interfere with that?
New question. New question, Leader of the Opposition.
When thousands of elective surgery cases are cancelled, expresses no concern about the system. My second question.
New question.
My second question is to the Premier of this province. My question. My question.
Order.
My question.
New question.
My question to the Premier is this: Does he believe that there is a potential of a serious tragedy occurring in Ontario as a result of the doctor's strike?
Premier?
Speaker, I'll refer that to the Minister of Health.
Speaker. Order! Order! Order. 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 I understood the Premier referred it to the Minister of Health. Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I can tell the honourable gentleman that what we have done with respect to the situation situations where there has been a closure of emergency services, that we have implemented what has been standard procedure around this province, whether it be as a result of withdrawal or whether it be as a result of an overflow of emergency services required in a hospital due to some kind of an accident. I can tell the honourable gentleman what occurs is that when there is a problem at an emergency, that a contact is made with the closest hospitals in the area to advise of the circumstances. We, in fact, have also provided services in addition, which would include vehicles from the Emergency Services Branch to accommodate the circumstances of concern about which you've indicated a question.
Supplementary. Supplementary.
A disgraceful circumstance, I say to the Minister, when with thousands of patients out there trying to get medical services, the Premier of this province winks, shrugs, smiles, and laughs when a serious problem is posed to him and a serious question is posed to him about this strike. Pierre Elliott Trudeau would be embarrassed to see that.
Supplementary. Supplementary.
Well, it's my question to the Minister is this: since the Premier refuses to answer questions in this House now, when the going is getting tough, might I ask him whether the Premier has expressed to the Minister of Health any concern for the safety of the people of Ontario?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman will know that this government has expressed on occasions a continuing concern about the people of this province. In fact, that's why we introduced this bill, Mr. Speaker. That's why we brought this bill in to protect the interests of the public in this great province of ours. Bill 94 is designed to do just that, and you guys, there are a number of you guys who want to hold this thing up. You've been talking at length. You don't care about the public. Order. That's our order. We must.
Order. Order. Final supplementary.
I want to tell the Minister that what has caused this strike, as he smirks during this crisis, what has caused this strike is nothing short of the attitude of your Premier, who has called the doctors face-to-face, overrated, overpaid, and told them he's going to do something about it. So don't you go around accusing anyone else
Final supplementary.
that you and he started.
Order. 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 Final supplementary, please.
I remind the Minister that one phone call from the Premier will end this strike. One phone call asking for a meeting.
Supplementary.
I want to ask the Minister once again, since we cannot get an answer from the Premier, if you would share with the public of this province simple information. Has the Premier of Ontario expressed to you in the last 72 hours any concern for the safety and health of the people of Ontario? Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, I had tried to answer the question before, but he didn't want to listen because I have told the person repeatedly, the people of this public, that we have the concern for the public interest at all times when we're dealing with this particularly very sensitive issue. We realize that this is a difficult issue. We do realize that some political parties were never able to come to grips with it. We have chosen to react to protect the interests of the public. We have indicated quite clearly that we intend to proceed to ensure that the public interest
All
is
the shouting
protected,
from
that
the
we must
Reverend won't
govern,
change
and
that.
that we will proceed to end
All the shouting from the Reverend won't change that.
for the benefit of the public. I am concerned, the Premier is concerned, my cabinet colleagues are concerned that the best health care is provided in this.
Order. 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 We will now recess for 10 minutes. New question, the member for York South.
Speaker, I have a question for the Minister of Health, Mr. Speaker, and just say by means of preamble that if the Tory party is so concerned about the crisis, perhaps they will speed up the bill and stop their filibuster of Bill 94 and get on with the legislation that we need to see. That would be a useful way, Mr. Speaker, for the Tory party to express its concern. Mr. Speaker, I am rising to ask the Minister a question with respect to his statement today and with respect to what is taking place. I wonder if the Minister does not realize, Mr. Speaker, that what in effect the college has done is simply to condone the activities at the Northwestern General Hospital over the weekend and to condone other partial closures or practically complete closures of emergency wards that are taking place. I wonder if the Minister can tell us why the college did not invoke both the Public Hospitals Act and the Health Disciplines Act in clearly stating that it is grounds of professional misconduct for a member of a medical staff of a hospital to simply walk off the job without ensuring that another member of the medical staff is in fact filling his or her position. Why did the Minister not see that the College of Physicians made that very clear today in the statement that it issued to the public?
Well, if I may, to the preamble, first of all, with respect to the extended debate, I've been unofficially informed not long ago that, in fact, we will not get out of clause-by-clause examination of this bill today. That may be tomorrow, but we're really not too certain about that. I can tell the honourable gentleman, however, that I don't write the statements for the College of Physicians and Surgeons. They are an arm's-length group. I did have a meeting with them, and we did discuss the concerns which each of us, on behalf of myself, on behalf of the government, and they on behalf of the body which provides the review for public interest purposes, had about emergency room closings. I can tell you that they are interested in the individual situations as a follow-up, and they have examined what went on at the Northwestern. They will continue to do so, and in fact, I can tell the honourable gentleman and the members of the public that the college displayed a high degree of activity with respect to the Northwestern situation and were, in fact, on hand to discuss the matter at that facility last week.
Supplementary.
Speaker, I don't think the Minister has answered my question, and I want him to answer this question because it's important.
Order.
We have the...
Why don't you ask the Premier? He might answer. Why don't you go on the second line with your friend?
Order. 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 Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, watching the Tories as the cheerleaders of a strike is a refreshing phenomenon, but one which I think would cause great concern to those patients who are looking to a medical
Supplementary.
community that will provide them with care. Mr. Speaker,
You've got a choice, Mr. Ray.
Speaker, pass the bill and see what the response will be. Mr. Speaker, the Minister is responsible for the administration of a piece of legislation, the Health Disciplines Act. He will know that the Health Disciplines Act defines professional misconduct, and it says quite specifically that professional misconduct includes a breach by a medical practitioner of a provincial regulation. He will then know by looking at the provincial regulations that if a member of a medical staff of a hospital is going to leave or is going to change with respect to his provision of services, that he has to notify the administrator and obtain the services of another member of the medical staff. You cannot leave the hospital in the lurch. That's the law of the province of Ontario. Why are you in the College of Physicians and Surgeons not enforcing the law in the province of Ontario?
Now, Mr. Speaker, that honourable gentleman will probably be pleased to know that, in fact, we examine each of the situations to ensure that there are mechanisms in place to ensure quality of patient care in those hospitals. We have worked very closely with respect to each of the boards in the hospitals where activity has declined on the part of the medical staff. We were, in fact, or at least I was, and maybe you were too at Northwestern last week, and we were in a position to see that in fact there were supervisory staff in place in that facility. We have understood from the board members in talking with them directly and reviewing the situation that patient care in that hospital has in fact and will in fact be maintained. That I think would answer the concern which you talk about. I think you were suggesting abandonment, and of course in each circumstance that has to be met with the individual circumstances of a case. If you have a case, please let me know, and we can of course refer it, and we will get a ruling on that.
Final supplementary.
Speaker, the minister still hasn't answered the question. I want to read to him the Public Hospitals Act. It says, when a member of the medical staff is unable to perform his duties in the hospital, he shall arrange for another member to perform his duties and notify the administrator. That's set out in Section 27 under Regulation 865 under the Public Hospitals Act, and there are 3 other regulations in that same section which set out specifically a similar duty. Between 9 and 10 this morning, the entire staff at the Humber Memorial Hospital notified the deputy administrator that emergency services, as far as they were concerned, would be stopped at 4 o'clock and there would be minimal services provided. Minimal services provided. I'd like to ask the minister, is he of the view that that is in compliance with the law of the province of Ontario, and if not, what do you intend to do about it?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can tell the honourable gentleman that there is and there are, of course, a provision for services to be provided. I think that was the essence of his question. He underscored quite clearly that services were going to be provided out there. Now, I don't know exactly what information or extra information he may have for me to consider, but let me tell you that the result of the situation at the Northwestern last week indicated quite clearly that all of the people who appeared at that emergency room facility were assessed, and there was treatment available for those who were in the situation of circumstances requiring to receive treatment. That, I think, was what the statement from the College of Physicians and Surgeons indicated clearly. That was my understanding as well. If the gentleman has information otherwise, I would be prepared to act on it when he makes it available to me.
New question.
Mr. Speaker, I will just provide the minister with this information now. It has already been referred this morning to the college, but I want the minister to know about it.
This is a new question?
It deals with a new question to the minister. It deals with the question of the withdrawal of services by anesthetists. It deals specifically at Sunnybrook Hospital. I'd like to ask the minister the case of a young woman by the name of Birgit Schultz, who has been waiting for some time for an operation for a cleft palate. Tomorrow is the last day that Dr. Ian Monroe will be performing surgery, we understand. He has agreed to perform the operation. He has agreed to perform the operation.
Order.
The woman was admitted to Sunnybrook Hospital this morning and was advised that the operation could not be performed because the anesthetists had withdrawn their services. I'd like to ask the minister, what does he intend to do about a situation where the anesthetists, who are members of the medical staff, have declared unilaterally that they will not be performing services, and they themselves have not assured that another member of the medical staff will be able to do that job? That's what's happening in this instance. Why are we not enforcing the law, and why does it have to be raised on a case-by-case basis when there are many examples where this is taking place in the province?
Well, Mr. Speaker, of course, the situation is one which I consider serious, and I wish that the honourable gentleman could have advised me of it earlier. I hope that, in fact, he will. I can tell the honourable gentleman that with respect to the question which he has just raised, that is not, as I understand it, an emergency room type activity. It is an unfortunate one. I agree with you quite clearly. I can tell you, though, with respect to Dr. Monroe, that we have information that indicates that there are resources available in Ontario for which we are able to refer people who have particular situations, and I will look at that circumstance to see exactly what we can do about it. You, I guess, found out about it relatively late in the day, and it's been referred to the college. I'm pleased to hear that it has gone forward to the college, and I will follow up on it myself, but will ask that you provide me with the details.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, is it the view of the minister that the anesthetists of the province, or that any individual anesthetist, can refuse to turn up at work as a member of the medical staff and refuse to perform an operation without complying with the requirements of the Public Hospitals Act with respect to assuring the public and the hospital that an alternative member of the staff is available?
Minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, what we were talking about are questions that deal with elective surgery, obviously, in the situations of analysis, which is sometimes, and I can't comment on this particular case. I don't know what went on behind it, but I do know that there is an examination of these cases having been made. Generally speaking, I don't know this circumstance, but generally in consultation among the surgeons and anesthetists, and with respect, I can tell you that those people are providing services in the situation where it is deemed an emergency or urgent situation. And I can tell the honourable gentleman that if he has information that other than that occurred, I would like him to fill me in on it so that we can in fact take appropriate action. Just one other piece of information that's important to this honourable gentleman, and that is this. That where circumstances are such that the board determines that action is required, they in fact are empowered as well to take action with respect to people who are unwilling to provide or fulfill their mandate within those hospitals. There are things called bylaws. There are requirements with respect to responsibilities. I can tell the honourable gentleman that I believe that the boards have acted very responsibly and in fact have done what they can to ensure the continuing care
Final
of their
supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, the minister may try to slough it off on the boards, but if he's not willing to see that the act is enforced, I don't see how he can expect the boards of hospitals to be tougher than he is himself willing to be with respect to the disruption of services that are called for specifically in the act. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the minister, how does he feel about the application of Section 26, 27, and 28, again, these sections dealing with the need of doctors to continue to maintain services and assure that an alternative is available in the case of a single male in his mid-20s, a schizophrenic with uncontrolled epilepsy, who's admitted traditionally to hospital about 10 to 12 times per year. On Thursday, his doctor at St. Mike's said he'd be available if needed. When the patient called on Friday, the doctor's secretary said the doctor was now on strike and would not see the patient. A whole process of panicking took place. The patient threatened to kill himself, and finally he was allowed to attend as an inpatient and admitted at the nearby North York General Hospital.
Minister?
I wonder, how does the minister feel about that level of service for this single 20-year-old schizophrenic with uncontrolled epilepsy this weekend?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm concerned that that sort of event occurred because what the physicians have told me is, and I believe that in the vast majority of cases that in fact that it will continue, that they will provide the service when that service is required. I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, that sort of circumstance, and again I invite the honourable gentleman to provide me with the details of that circumstance, will be referred on. We will deal with that, and in fact, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to work and deal with the legislation that we have, but I urge the honourable members, all honourable members, to ensure that we move on and do the clause by clause in a most reasonable and expeditious fashion so that we can get on to passage of the bill and get on to other matters. I can tell the honourable gentleman that those circumstances which he has outlined should be brought forward to us at the first appropriate opportunity.
New question. The Leader of the Opposition.
I have a question for the Premier of Ontario. While he winks goodbye to Dr. Monroe, I wonder if he could share with us the following information, which I'm sure he's been briefed on as Premier of Ontario. How many hospitals have had their emergency wards closed today? How many boards of hospitals have resigned? How many medical advisory committees are not functioning? And how many hospitals have canceled surgery? Surely you would have that information
Premier?
in this critical circumstance.
Speaker, the minister can give you the up-to-date information on that.
The Premier refer that to the Minister of Health. Minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we have some information with respect to the current status, and I think that...
Order. Order. Minister?
We do have suggested that there will be some closures today. Obviously, I won't give a total rundown, but I think the ones that are closed you already know about with respect to Northwestern. There is some suggestion, of course, that Peel will close at 6 p.m. There are unconfirmed reports that Mississauga is considering. There are concerns, or not concerns, but there has been information that Humber considering closing at 4 o'clock. I can tell you in each of these circumstances that it is my understanding that there is going to be a physician available in each of those to do the necessary assessment, consider who is requiring information, or requiring not information but treatment.
They wouldn't abandon their patients, Larry.
But I can tell you that
They wouldn't
in fact
abandon their patients.
we can give you further information about others if you have specific inquiries, and I'll be pleased to deliver that to you. But what we have in place, Mr. Speaker, is the ability to meet the needs of the system by referring out the patients who are looking for treatment.
Supplementary.
I have to say to the Minister, this is now a scary situation. The Minister of Health, in day 5 of a prolonged walkout, in day 5, not in the first hour, in day 5, cannot tell the people of this province which emergencies wards have been closed. He cannot tell us, well, if you have it, if you'd send it across to us, we'd appreciate it, which medical advisory committees have resigned, which, after all, are the fail-safe mechanism for quality of care in hospitals. He cannot tell us how many boards of directors have resigned, and he doesn't even know which hospitals in Ontario have canceled emergency surgery. In day 5. My question to the Minister is this. My question to the Minister is this. Are you not, in this circumstance, totally devoid of any information which would allow you to prevent a tragedy from occurring, given the fact that your main response is to send Murray Elston some information and you'll investigate?
Minister?
Can we have this information with regard to what's happening in the system?
Mr. Speaker, I provided some information with respect to which hospitals have advised. I can tell you, listen, I could send it all over and you'd be of no help whatsoever. You've been out there telling people to do whatever they could to resist this bill. And you have been spurring on the debate to such light that you won't even let us get on with the bill. You know something? I do know information. I have lots of information.
Order. Order! 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 I'll remind the members you're wasting very much of other members' time. Order! New question. The member for Etobicoke.
Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I have a question to the Chairman of Management Board, a Cabinet Minister for whom I do have a lot of respect. The Minister will be aware that the Manual of Administration, over which she presides, states that, with regard to senior civil servants at least, that a conflict of interest includes actual or perceived conflicts and those which have the potential to be actual or perceived. Furthermore, one of the remedies when someone finds themselves in even a potential conflict of interest is to temporarily remove the public servant from those responsibilities which cause the conflict. Now, I'm asking the Minister, in all sincerity, do you not agree that if you were in the present position that you find yourself now as a public servant, that you would probably have been removed, at least temporarily, until the matter could be resolved? And will you not apply the same standard to yourself that you would apply to a senior public servant, Minister, and at least step down until the Public Accounts Committee may clarify the potential conflict?
Mr. Speaker, let me answer in all sincerity. I believe that, in fact, I am not in contravention of the conflict of interest guidelines, and neither is my husband. In fact, I know that he has attempted over the past year, and I say this in all sincerity, to scrupulously adhere to those guidelines.
Order. Order.
Take.
The Minister.
Order. Order. Supplementary, the member for Etobicoke.
The issue is not whether you're in conflict. The issue is whether it's a perceived or potential conflict, and that's fairly clear in the Manual of Administration, and it doesn't distinguish. I wonder if the minister in her statement, she said that during the entire course of the negotiations with the IDEA Corporation, my husband's position as a financial consultant was fully disclosed to the staff and to the members of the board. Would the minister not agree that the reason for conflict of interest guidelines or rules in any legislature or parliament is not simply that there be a disclosure, but that some action be taken? Why would the minister have this matter disclosed if there was not at least a potential conflict? Is that not an admission that at least there was a potential conflict?
Minister?
And why was no action taken on it? And why doesn't the minister do the honorable thing and step down until the matter can be clarified?
Mr. Speaker, let me respond in this way. The IDEA Corporation is an autonomous crown corporation of the government. When my husband, at the time that I was sworn into the cabinet, he had a client. He asked, could he continue in his business? He said that from time to time he may have a client who applied to an agency
Bishop
or
would not be
ministry,
amused.
and under what conditions could he work? Those
Bishop would
conditions
not
were
be
clear.
amused.
He had adhered to them. He was totally, completely open. He signed an affidavit, and he did not receive any benefit from the equity investment which IDEA Corporation made. Therefore, I do not believe there is any perception of conflict. The guidelines were adhered to. We have been completely open about this, and I don't believe there's any problem.
Order. New question, the member for Brantford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Premier. The Premier will be as aware as any other member of this House of the developments that have come up in the Kaplan affair since Thursday when the House last met. Now, my question to the Premier, it has now been clearly established that within several weeks of the IDEA Corporation $3 million equity going into the WIDA Corporation, Mr. Kaplan's fee was increased by WIDA over 300%, from $2,000 to $8,000 a month. Now, the Premier himself has said, and I quote, "It does not look good," unquote. The Premier has asked Mr. Kaplan to sever his relationship with WIDA, but he knows that more is required. The parliamentary convention is that the minister should resign her post until such time as this matter has been adjudicated. My question to the Premier is, why have you not asked the minister to do the honorable thing and resign?
Premier. Mr. Speaker, there's no question this matter causes me concern, as it causes the honourable member of opposite concern. Originally was brought to the attention of the House by, I believe, you. You were making allegations at that point of some undue influence on the IDEA Corporation. And immediately when I was aware of that, well, I think that was the charge leveled in this House, immediately I asked for an investigation by the Secretary of Cabinet to talk to the various people that were involved in the situation to see if there's any hint of that kind of situation. Now, on a quick and cursory look at the situation, I came back the next day in the House and said, to the best of my knowledge, there was no suggestion of influence being exerted in any way, and I reminded you that IDEA Corporation was independent of the government, that the directors had been appointed by the previous administration and not by us, and I reminded you of all of those situations, and that there were the people there, the chairman, the president, and a variety of others were prepared to attest to the fact that there was absolutely no conflict of interest. They were aware of the situation, and there was full disclosure. Now, I shared that with the members of the House, but I said at the same time, I recognize that sometimes the difference between reality and perception, and I had satisfied myself on the basis of what I knew that there was no problem. But I recognize that how others could perceive these, and so I said to you then last Thursday, please satisfy yourself. Let's have a public accounts investigation of this matter. I think you should call anyone you want to call, including minister, her husband, me, the IDEA Corporation, and satisfy yourself of the fact. As I said to you, that my assessment, on the basis of what I knew, the prima facie, there was no undue influence or no influence exerted whatsoever on anyone. There was complete disclosure and, in fact, no conflict. And that's why I come back to the honourable member and said, on the basis of what I said. Now, that may not reflect your view or the view of the third party, but I told you, on the basis of what the facts as I know them, that's how I saw the situation.
Supplementary. The member for Brantford.
Mr. Speaker, through you to the Premier, we welcome the opportunity for Public Accounts Committee to consider this. But the Premier has said many times over the last year that he wants to set new standards for government conduct. Well, what is the standard when the existing standard, the existing standard in this legislature and every other chamber in the country has been that when there are serious allegations of this type and compelling evidence of this type, the minister must resign. Now, I draw the Premier's attention to 4 resignations since January 1st of this year. Sinclair Stevens in Ottawa. Billy Joe McLean, the Minister of Culture in Nova Scotia, in April of this year. Very similar circumstances. Stephen Rogers, the Health Minister in British Columbia. Tom Waterland, the Forestry Minister in British Columbia. All resigning because of apparent conflicts which had to be adjudicated by their own governments. My question to you is, why would you not set at least the same standard of conduct for your ministers and require the minister's resignation as is being done in every other jurisdiction in the country?
I appreciate the point of the honourable member, but you see, there's nothing to prevent you or any other member of this House standing up on any occasion and accusing someone else of a conflict of interest, right? That's one of the realities of public life, that people in public life are accused of all sorts of things, and I guess I look very carefully at the facts of the situation, and there are always very hard judgment calls to make in these situations. If there's a prima facie case, well, Order. Mr. Speaker, there's regularly charges of, if you had resigned every time we alleged a conflict of interest, you would never have had a cabinet in previous government around here, let me tell you. I'd never tell you. Let me just say that. Now, these things happen. Order. I'm trying to answer the question, Mr. Speaker. I'm trying to answer the question. When people's in-laws are awarded lottery license and things like that, then you ask yourself the question, should there be an immediate resignation? So I'm just saying, I am sharing with my friends opposite the difficulty of the judgment that I can tell you that I'm most uncomfortable with. And so I looked at the facts, and my sense was that there was no conflict and no influence being exerted, subject to the advice of this House, obviously. We have said, look at this on a nonpartisan basis, put it before the public accounts, do that expeditiously. I invite you again to take advantage of it.
Order.
Now, at this view,
Order. New question. Order. New question. The member for Sudbury East.
I have a new question for the minister responsible for the swamp, Minister of Labour. On May the 13th, I asked the Minister of Labour the following question concerning the death of Francis Spurgeon, who was killed on November the 19th, 1985, when he was run over by an asphalt truck. And this is the question I asked. Is the Minister aware that an inquest held on May 7th, 86, evidence was presented that indicated the death was the result of the violation of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, Regulation 130 for construction sites? The truck backed up with a signalman without a signalman to direct it, and there was no signalman assigned to the work site. Why, when the minister's inspectors wrote the report on that order after the death, was that order ignored? And the minister said he'd have a response maybe within the next 49 minutes. Now, since the 49 minutes is long past, can the minister tell me if, in fact, the order issued against Bennett Construction has now been complied with?
Minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that the honourable member will know that the company in question was involved in a work site, I believe it was in Oshawa, and at the time that the inspector went back, and I believe there was no indication the order was not complied with, at the time that the inspector went back to that work site in January of this year. The work site was no longer, or Bennett Construction was no longer present on the work site. Mr. Speaker, we attempted to get in touch with the health and safety representative for the Canadian Union of Public Employees, because part of this whole matter was, Mr. Speaker, as a result of a letter from Mr. Lambert. I'm sure the member has a copy of it. Mr. Lambert, Mr. Speaker, indicated that there was nothing specific in his letter. He had no specific information regarding the failure, the continued failure or not, of Bennett Construction to provide that kind of a safety flagman.
Supplementary?
Well, I have a more recent letter in a supplementary question to the Minister dated June 2nd, 86, from Mr. Colin Lambert. And Mr. Lambert wants to know the following. And he's asking that prosecutions be initiated because the truck, for the company not providing a signalman to back up the trucks, ignoring the original order of the Ministry of Labor, and refusing to provide adequate training for employees. Can you tell me, in fact, when you're even going to make a decision as to whether there'll be a prosecution in the death of that worker for a violation of Section 130 of the Construction Act? When are you going to move?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we're back to the same kind of game and it really rather is a silly game, Mr. Speaker, that the member insists on playing, and it really is a silly game. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, that this is a very serious occurrence. This was a very serious occurrence, and the matter is proceeding, Mr. Speaker, through the proper channels, and that, as the honourable member will know, will be from the inspection report up to the director of the branch through a number of other steps, and ultimately a decision will be made as to whether we will prosecute or not. The honourable member, Mr. Speaker, and that honourable member will know that there is a 12-month limitation on prosecutions. I'm not certain, Mr. Speaker, other than to stand up and ask questions day after day, why this honourable member insists on asking whether prosecutions are going to be undertaken literally within hours of a workplace incident. Mr. Speaker, we take these obligations very seriously, particularly as they pertain to fatalities, and if there's a prosecution is called for, a prosecution will be launched.
Order. New question, the member for York East. Order. Oh. The sound system is working.
Mr. Speaker, shall I start again? My question is to the Minister without portfolio with responsibility for senior citizens. Mr. Speaker, through you, Mr. Minister, in your white paper, which you recently tabled, you informed all members that you would be reviewing Extendicare facilities and would subsequently introduce new legislation. My question is, what type of review process is the Minister considering?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the process of rationalizing extended care is, we perceive, going to be a very complex process because we intend to review inspection services, programming, staffing, quality of care, physical plant standards, and also another two additional very significant factors, Mr. Speaker, the need to assess the funding system to make it more uniform, and beyond that, the whole process of patient assessment and placement needs review. In order to do this, we will be talking with the various providers, including the Nursing Home Association and the Ontario Association of Homes for the Aged. We'll also be talking with such advocacy groups as the Concerned Friends, the United Senior Citizens, and of course, because we are dealing not only with nursing homes of the for-profit variety, but also of the charitable and municipal homes, we'll be dealing, Mr. Speaker, with the Ontario Municipal Association.
Supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I have a great many seniors in the riding of York East, and they are very interested to know, through you to the Minister, approximately how long will it be before we will see any introduction of legislation in this regard?
Minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure all members will recall the very long time that it took to come up with the Family and Children's Services Act revision. That took many years to accomplish that. Family law reform took a long period of time. Our schedule, Mr. Speaker, is that we will consult with the various advocacy groups and provider groups starting in August. That consultation will be complete, we hope, by the late fall, if not certainly before Christmas. And then the process of rewriting will begin, and we would hope to do that just as quickly as we could in early 1987.
New question, the member for Simcoe Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have a question for the Minister of Education. Mr. Minister, over the past 10 years, the population in the town of Bradford has more than doubled in numbers. The Simcoe County Board of Education has had a new Bradford public school as a top priority item for some time now. Your officials deemed the elementary separate school necessary to fund, which was number 3 in the separate board priority list. What rationale did they provide to you in not recommending funding for the public school request, which was the number 1 priority in the whole county of Simcoe?
Minister?
The honourable member will know from a previous conversation the criterion was enrollment growth, which was determined by the regional office to be great in both Simcoe County boards, but in the Bradford area, greater in the separate board. As the honourable member will know from talking to me and from listening to his colleague from York Mills, the Ministry of Education does try to respond as best it can to the capital needs of the Ontario school sector, and this government, under the able leadership of the Treasurer, has substantially increased in both last year's budget and in this year's allocation the capital grants to the school boards of Ontario.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Minister, the educational needs as perceived by the local elected school board trustees seems to have no credibility in the decision-making process that you are presently following. Will you give this House the assurance that an overcrowded 33-year-old public school with 8 classrooms and 7 portables is not acceptable by today's standards, and you will immediately move to correct this most serious situation in the town of Bradford?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I want to say to the honourable member, I very sincerely appreciate the concern he has expressed to me, both in letter and in oral communication, about his constituents in that part of South Simcoe. I can assure the honourable member that I will do everything I can to alleviate the pressures that he and his colleagues on the Simcoe County Board of Education have identified. But as the honourable member knows, we do have a process, the capital allocation process, that in my view works rather well by and large. We always need more money. It's my job to continue to fight with my colleagues to ensure that that money is made available. And I want to repeat, Mr. Speaker, that I have been, Mr. Speaker, at the risk of being slightly self-congratulatory, I have been
Order.
I have been, in that respect, Mr. Speaker, more successful by a considerable degree than any of the honourable member's colleagues.
New question, the member for Nickel Belt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a question for the Minister of Natural Resources concerning the removal of bridges along the Shabbatic River near White River in northern Ontario. The Minister may recall that my colleagues from Lake Nipigon and Algoma, both of whom are in the ridings today, raised this issue with the Minister, and the Minister promised to consult further with them before anything was done. Then this morning, his crews appeared at the bridge to demolish the bridges, only to find that they had been occupied by local people. Why did the Minister proceed after he'd promised to consult with my colleagues, knowing full well the detrimental effect that removal of those bridges would have on local hunters, fishermen, and the local tourist industry?
Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, consultation has been a very high priority of this government, and indeed I did discuss the bridges with the two honorable gentlemen. And the fact of the matter is that I have a report from our engineering staff in the area, Mr. Speaker, that would indicate that the bridges were built some 25 and 28 years ago of timber, and that they are no longer structurally sound. And there's a great deal of concern that I have, and you can understand with the kind of insurance rates and the kind of things that happen in the province today relating to accidents, that the ministry feels that they are indeed unsafe and that they should be removed, and particularly that we are doing something where we can to produce a culvert and an access to one of the areas which needn't have been done, but we were considering. I talked to the honorable gentleman, and I had hoped that they understood that after investigating, we found out that we were having a serious problem in maintaining those bridges. Supplementary.
Well, what a silly response. The minister knows that those bridges have deteriorated because your ministry has allowed them to deteriorate. Why will you not put the adequate resources into maintaining those bridges so that people can travel on them? There are tourist operators in that area who claim that up to 25% of their income will go down the tube unless those bridges are maintained. And why have you not consulted more widely with the local people, not to mention having broken your word to my colleagues from Lake Nipigon in Oklahoma?
Mr. Speaker, I would accept part of that question, but I certainly cannot accept the fact that I broke my word with the honorable members, because this determination was made back in May. And I indeed stopped that from happening because I was discussing with my ministry the possible alternatives. And I have to tell you that if a bridge is 20 years or 28 years old, made from timbers that are untreated, they pose a very serious hazard to the public. And if we have to look at them and decide whether they're going to be needed in the future, it seems to me that they are not, in fact, other than being on side roads, going to be kept up, because we have all kinds of involvement in maintaining the made roads in that area, which we are in the process of doing and giving good access up to a point. But I'm certain that the honorable member would not accept that the government should maintain many bridges that were built years ago for a different purpose and are no longer needed, and now, in fact, are a tremendous danger to the public.
New question, the member for York Centre.
Mr. Speaker, instead of asking the Premier this question, because I know he would divert it to his minister, I'll ask the question to the Minister of Community and Social Services. Very simply, it's a very important question that affects a lot of children and young people. What action has the Minister taken to resolve the current strike situation with the Metro Children's Aid Society?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, there are 3 Children's Aid Societies negotiating at the present time. The Catholic Children's Aid Society is expected to take a vote today. The Jewish Family Services is expected to take a vote in about 2 weeks. We have reason to believe that both of those will be satisfactory. As the member well knows, however, the Metro Children's Aid Society took a vote last Wednesday, decided to go on strike on Thursday, and has been on since then. They have in excess of 100 management non-union members who are carrying out all the important functions, taking children into care, and our office is monitoring that very carefully. To this point, we have no reason to believe that the children who need the special care are in fact not getting it.
Supplementary?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the whole world knows that there are over 12,000 children served by Metro Children's Aid Society, and they are being served only by a few management people. And may I just ask the Minister, does he not consider this a crisis situation that requires his direct intervention? You can't just stand by and let other people do things. It's time to get involved.
Minister?
Don't you agree that this is a crisis situation that requires your involvement?
Right now.
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I would not agree that it is a crisis situation.
Right.
I would rather agree that the members of the Children's Aid Society staff who are not on strike are in fact managing the needs at the present time. I would also point out clearly to the member that a Children's Aid Society is an independent, autonomous body. We were asked very clearly by the board of directors and by the chairman not to intervene, that it was their negotiating process that had to be carried forward, and that therefore I've clearly indicated that I will not intervene.
Time for all questions has expired.